Hello everyone. This PowerPoint is going to discuss the ways to read critically. Now, I know what you may be thinking. This is an English class, so of course we're going to be writing. Why are we going to be talking about reading? However, you cannot write about a text until you can deeply read and understand the text you're going to be writing about. So hopefully that makes sense, and this quick little tutorial will be a refresher to how to read critically. The first step in reading critically is to read more than once. I know it's a time commitment, and I know it's not something we always want to do, but I promise, if you read a text at least 2 times through, it will have a huge impact on the way you understand what you're reading. The first time through, simply read to comprehend. What is the text talking about? The second or third time you read, make sure you engage with the text. Now, what do I mean by engage with the text? This can be anything from reacting to it, evaluating it, analyzing it. And the one thing that you want to make sure you're doing while you're engaging with the text is that you're writing it down, otherwise known as annotation. So, what is annotation? You can think of annotation like a comment bubble about the text you're reading. The key here is that you are actively taking notes on the text. Now, I don't mean taking notes as in summary, I mean taking notes of engagement, just like we discussed in the previous slide. There are several styles of annotation, but they all involve action on the part of you, on the part of the reader. These can include underlining, marking key passages, writing questions, making personal connections to the text, and/or reacting in some way. In this class, we are going to require that everyone participate in annotation. The kind of annotation we will ask you to do is going to be called double entry notebook. This style of note can be done on traditional notebook paper or on the computer. It doesn't really matter, whatever you prefer. What does matter is that you have to have 2 columns. One on the left-hand side of the page is language taken directly from the text. You can either quote directly or paraphrase what the author is saying on this side. In the opposite column on the right-hand side, you will write a response to the author's ideas. This can be anything from reactions to questions to personal connections, etc. Essentially, the format of these notes is forcing you, as the reader, to do that engagement with the text. Now, I will collect some version of your double entry notes, but it's important to know that these are not formal notes. You do not need to worry about sentence structure or grammar. We just want you to get your ideas down on paper. I highly suggest, however, that you include page numbers. If you take good double entry notes, you can use this information when you are asked to write a formal essay or a formal reflection on the text, because you will already have some of your ideas written down on paper. Double entry note-taking will be extremely useful to you in your higher level courses when you're trying to critically read heavy peer-reviewed journal articles. The final topic we're going to cover in this PowerPoint is summary. Summary is a critical component to writing. Anytime that you are asked to write about a text, it is crucial that you let your audience know what that text is about. You cannot assume that your audience has read the piece and is intimately familiar with the piece just like you are. However, if you've already done this homework and you've already read the text more than one time and you've taken good annotations, writing a summary will be very, very easy. Now, I'd like to preface this by discussing why writing summary is a good practice, either inside or outside of the classroom. You will, or you should, use summary to remember main ideas in courses outside of English. Using summary will be extremely helpful to you if you ever need to write a major research paper in your specific field, because you will have a good reference of all of your sources. It will also be a good tool to use in your future career. You may need to summarize meetings that you attend, events you participate in. You may even have to summarize your own job description at some point. You'll probably also want to document and summarize your interactions with customers or clients or patients so that you can reference back. Okay, So let's talk about what to do when you're actually going to attempt to write the summary. When you're writing the summary, there are 3 good questions to answer, and that way you'll know you've covered all of your bases. The first one, what is the topic of the article? In other words, what conversation is the piece engaged in? Number 2, what is the opinion or argument of the author? In other words, how does the author engage in the conversation you've identified? Is there a main argument on behalf of the author? And number 3, what kind of examples or evidence does the author use to support his or her argument? Now, you do not and you should not include all of the examples or evidence in the piece, but include 1 or 2. I'd also like to highlight that it's not always easy to summarize a text. At some point in your academic career, you will probably be asked to read, understand, or write about a longer text. And this could be something like an entire book or a peer-reviewed article. So I'd like to give you some tips on how to approach understanding and summarizing those longer pieces. The only way to make this manageable is to break it down. Break it down into smaller and more manageable pieces. And you can sort the text however you'd like to, whatever you think is easiest. You could do it page by page. If the text that you're reading is broken into little sections, you could do it section by section. If you're finding that they're switching gears and talking about different topics, you can break it down by topic. Or if it's a very long book, you could do it chapter by chapter. The main idea is that all of those minor arguments of each section that you break down will build up to the major or overarching main idea or thesis. So you just need to tackle these longer texts in the way that makes sense for you. Okay, so to recap everything we've talked about, for this course, please make sure you understand the expectations for double entry notes. You can refer back to the example on the PowerPoint page. And make sure you understand summary and what we're asking for when we say summarize a text, as we will be using these in the assignments for this course. Thank you.